Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the AIHM Friday webinar. We'll just take a minute as everyone starts to come in. We're just so thrilled to have everyone here. Everyone's coming in now. Go. So I'm just really thrilled today to be here, and wow, what a week we have all had. It is really such a pleasure and honor to have with us today Dr. Paul Epstein. He'll be speaking on a wonderful topic, find peace in the storm, cultivate mindfulness and resilience to face and manage anxiety. And we really are just so blessed to have him here with us. So for those of you who don't know us, we are the Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine. We're a global interprofessional integrative health association working to transform healthcare, body, mind, spirit, community, and planet. And today I really have the great pleasure of welcoming Dr. Paul Epstein, who is a naturopathic physician, the co-founder and co-director of the Israel Center for Mind-Body Medicine. He's an AIHM faculty member, a meditation and mindfulness teacher and therapist, and the author of Happiness Through Meditation. But really, you know, more than anything, Paul has been one of the leaders in the integrative health movement for so many decades. He was a teacher of mine when I was a student of naturopathic medicine. He has been a teacher to so many. He teaches in our AIHM fellowship program and really has helped so many people transform their lives. So Paul, I'm just thrilled to have you here today. And I just really, on behalf of all of us in the collective community, just thank you for all you have done for so many decades for individuals and communities. And we're really excited to have you speak on this topic with us today. So feel free to share your screen, and yeah, we're really thrilled to have you.
Well, Tabby, thank you, and thank all of you for coming and attending. Thank you for that introduction. And I share your intentions for AIHM and transforming healthcare. And I see my work as in mind-body medicine as helping and supporting people to transform their pain, their stress, their illness into a journey of healing and awakening. And I'm intention for today is to give you some practices, some perspectives, some teachings and exercises and experiences that I have found particularly effective for myself personally and for my students and patients and clients over the years to help them find peace in the storm, help them be with the challenges of the day. And as Tabby mentioned, we're all going through those challenges. We'll speak about them and ways that we can work with them to deal with the anxiety, the uncertainty that inevitably is resulting from what's going on in our lives individually, collectively. So I call today webinar, Finding Peace in the Storm, Facing Anxiety and Uncertainty with Mindfulness and Compassion. And an interesting note to share, I put this together sort of as a public service announcement or message when the virus first hit back in March. And little did I know, however many months later, here we are in November, and the virus is still raging out of control. We've gone through the election, still going through that. We've had the trauma and the stress of wildfires and storms and concerns about climate change and the with the election, the divided nation and people not connecting and families. So we're under lots and lots of stress. So I'm hopeful that today will be a little respite and a little positive energy and support for all of us in what we're going through. So, first important perspective that I wanted to share that I bring to my work and in this webinar is a simple one, that pain is a teacher, and we learn from it. And the stresses and challenges that come from the stresses of our day and the issues are an opportunity for us to learn and grow, and to transform those challenges into a journey of healing and awakening. And to begin, keeping it as simple as possible, one of the more powerful of mind body tools that I learned many years ago, back in the 60s and 70s, the practice of yoga is just the breath. So, for all of us, we have busy lives, we have what brought us here now, we have where we're going after this webinar, and the busyness of our lives. Let's take a moment and just come into the now and be here now. So this is the first of a few moments of awareness and the breath and relaxation to take. And I invite you to take a breath, tune in to the breath, bring awareness, and be here now. Just come into the present moment. There's a wonderful phrase from Thich Nhat Hanh, a meditation teacher. The present moment is where life can be found. If you don't arrive there, you miss your appointment with life. Breathing in, we say, I have arrived. Breathing out, we say, I am home. So come home, just take a breath and come home to this moment. Come home to the now and just observe the breath. If it feels comfortable, take a slow, deep inhale and a slow, deep exhale. The foundational practice of mind body medicine is to integrate the mind and body, the breath, the awareness. And just breathe. Just tune into the breath. And just get a sense of calm. Whatever's happening, that breath working to self-regulate the nervous system. And just another breath in and out. And while I'm going to be speaking of different concepts and teachings, if you can, throughout this webinar, stay connected to yourself. Stay connected to the moment. Always just a breath away. And that simple phrase, be here now, is from Ram Dass's book from the 60s. Be here now. Very simple practice and very powerful medicine. So what makes this crisis so challenging? Again, I was referring initially to the virus, and it still applies today. We're concerned about our own health, about our loved ones, about the world. And Europe is shutting down again. Israel is shutting down. My state, my bank was closed yesterday again because of the rise in the virus, not to mention the uncertainty and challenge of the election and what we're all going through on that score. The challenge has been financial. There's concern again with having enough. I just heard people are starting to hoard again a little bit. At the same time, I teach seniors, and there's a sense of social isolation in their fear of going out and anxiety that comes from that. And we don't know how long this will last. We're waiting for treatments. We're waiting for vaccines. And I know all of you know all of this, and just acknowledging we're all going through it. And our normal coping skills, going to the movies, hanging out with friends, seeing our family with holidays coming, is a challenge during these times. And I'm viewing this webinar and how I look at health and healing as a preventive measure to prevent the PTSD, post-traumatic stress, that we're all going through. and to prevent symptoms that will come from how we deal with and process the challenges, the mind, body, spirit, emotional stresses, anxieties, uncertainties of today, hopefully will not be the PTS, post-traumatic stress of tomorrow, by how we face it today. So if you didn't know, it's stressful. And not just because it's stressful now, it's because it's kind of like the straw that's breaking the camel's back because our lives were stressful before that. Uh, Past stresses, current stresses, ongoing, chronic. This is the whole story when I'm working with patients. Um, Whatever the illness, whatever the diagnosis, and we just explore. Back in the 90s, 90% of visits to the doctor are for stress-related complaints. And the stress is not just from now and not just from our earlier lives. We now know it could be epigenetic. We can inherit the stresses from our parents and what they've gone through. So um, when this is added on to that, learning to come to terms with the moment and the anxiety is of critical importance. So the question is, what can we do? And this is a key teaching in mindfulness practice. We can't stop the waves, but we can learn to surf. And surfing for me is the next important question, which is a question that is a really important component of my work and teachings of not just what do we do to get X to happen, but how do we be with what is happening? How do we have a relationship with what's happening that will create an environment that will let healing happen, or let us find our peace, or let us find the healer within, or allow us the opportunity to learn and grow and become resilient by facing and adapting to the challenges that we're going through. So that's a key question. How can I be with, and how can I be is an important question to ask along with what can I do. And I think they go together, but I like to ask that question first of how can I be? And that's an important aspect of what mindfulness practice is and meditation is as medicine. It's a way of being, it's a way of relating to our experience that we now know from the science of mind body and neuroplasticity and epigenetics and psychoneuroimmunology. Our perspective, our attitudes, how we look at things, our relationship to our experience and each other and ourselves is indeed medicine, and powerful medicine to transform the brain, the immune system, the nervous system, all aspects of our mind body health. So this is a simple thing again as pain as teacher. This is from meditation teacher Melly O'Brien, and it's an important one. The idea of being mindful of pain may seem counterintuitive. I don't want to be with my pain. My patients will say, I came here to help you get rid of it. And most people want to forget about their pain. And in this context, I'm using pain not so much in the physical pain, but in the psychological stresses and strains and challenges of the day and the anxiety and uncertainties that we're going through that I've mentioned. And by fighting and struggling against it and the trying to ignore it, and I'll add trying to get rid of it, and we resist what is, we actually create more stress and tension. So, how can I be with is to first face the truth of what we're experiencing and learning how to do that in a healthy way. And of course, we want to do no harm. And the key here is finding this middle way. And Buddhist practice is called the middle way, the Buddhist teachings out of which mindfulness has come in Buddhist psychology. But we must find the place between tuning out and freaking out. As we know, in the fight, flight, freeze response in relation to trauma, our survival strategies are often to tune out, or freak out, or fight, or flight, or be frozen and getting it locked in to the body mind. The body bears the burden. And we must learn, especially as we're going through it, how can we be present? How can we find that middle way? And Dan Siegel, the neuropsychiatrist, came up with the window of tolerance. Many of you may be familiar, but it's an important one that I work with myself is how do I stay centered? How do I stay calm in the storm? How do I stay in that window of tolerance, which I might also call the window and the zone of resilience, where if you see my nervous system isn't hyper aroused, and which I need to ground myself with breath work to calm down, or I can't calm down because I'm overreactive and I'm unable to deal with it. I'm emotionally distressed. How do I come back down to self regulate, to be in my window of tolerance? How do I know my edges here? And the other side is we shut down, we avoid, we dissociate, all in an effort to protect ourselves. And the challenge becomes, how do we find that way that we can stay present with it without shutting down, without freaking out? So when we shut down, we get depressed, we get lethargic, we get unmotivated, and we can use mindfulness and breath work and awareness and physical activity to energize ourselves and go from hyper arousal back to that window. And so it's a helpful tool that I have found for myself. Um, personally, where am I in my window? Can I be present here? When I'm arguing with a relative who has a different political point of view or likes a different candidate, can I stay calm in the storm? What's my window of tolerance when I'm with a patient whose issues and wounds pushed my buttons? And so it's a helpful, again, self-regulating, self-awareness tool that I wanted to share with you, especially in times when we're likely to be in stressful times, and a natural response may be to either freak out or zone out. And again, find peace in the storm. It's a simple phrase, but really important. And I'm speaking again from the standpoint of a meditation teacher, a mind body therapist, and also a doctor, a mind body doctor, as medicine, as mind body medicine. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And when you change the way you be with things, the things you be with change. So, in addition to whatever we're going to do and whatever treatments and whatever exercise in our efforts to heal or cure or treat or change our circumstances, in addition to that, I think it's really important to explore our relationship to it and explore how are we looking at it? How are we being with it? And then we can learn to look at it and be with it in ways that are wise and ways that are compassionate, that allow what we do to treat it or make it better to becoming more from an accepting, embracing, welcoming energy than one of pushing away or getting rid of, which on a healing level uh, may help eliminate the symptom, but not necessarily transform into a healing experience. So, this is sort of a signature line for me. Serenity is not freedom from the storm, it's peace amidst the storm. That's this webinar. Can I support you with finding that peace in the midst of this storm? Find your window of tolerance, your ability to be present, to be here now. And it does take practice and it does take intention. Hopefully, uh, at least from my perspective, that approach is an important way that we can choose how to face these challenges and move through them. And again, um, from a practical standpoint, it is also medicine, it's also therapy, and it's also quite healing um, in the context of our pains and our issues and our illnesses to integrate with everything else that we might do um, therapeutically and otherwise from a treatment angle. This comes from NICOBOM. I spoke there a number of years ago, National Institute for the Clinical Advancement of Behavioral Medicine. They put together this slide. It's adopted from a therapist, Shelley Harrell, PhD, and they allow us to share that. And I've shared this with clients, and it's really quite simple, quite effective, and very practical. 4 core strategies for managing stress and anxiety. And we may need one or the other or all, but each of us has to find the ones that work for us at any particular point in time. And I'm always exploring with clients and students, what's going to work for them. Meditation isn't necessarily for everyone. That's number one, attention centering techniques. We may be too anxious to meditate, to do breath work, to visualize. We may have too much trauma or strain. For others, this is the work that they need to calm down and to self regulate and to find that middle way. Others, in number 2, expressive creative strategies. Do some gardening, do some painting, do some creative movement in yoga and Tai Chi. So we want to find what's best for ourselves, and what's best for others. I know what's helped me immensely in dealing with my own stresses of these times, personally, professionally, has been, I shared this with Tabby. I play golf, I ride a bike, and I kayak, and those three activities is keep me moving and keep me having, number four, a healthy lifestyle of exercise and movement, and has let me do the things that I like to do, at least in the summer and the fall. And so I wasn't that affected by that part of my life. My normal enjoyment and coping strategies of those activities were not limited by the virus. So that was helpful for me. For other people, what they needed to do was not there, and we had to find activities and strategies that would be right for them, or combinations of them. And the third is a reflection, exploration. Uh, Part of the teaching I do at AIHM is, calling it contemplative medicine, exploring meaning, looking inside for self-awareness, not just so, but all of this helps us manage our stress and anxiety. And we can be aware and keep a journal, and journaling is very helpful for people in self-observation of our thoughts and feelings. So we're tuning into ourselves, and we're not lost in it, and we're monitoring and journaling and communicating our experience with others. And of course, obviously, a healthy lifestyle. So these are four simple strategies. I'm not going to present anything new or radical. I mean, that's the most simple part for me when I chose naturopathic medicine instead of a conventional medical approach to healing and to how I wanted to work with people. Doctor as teacher, understanding that lifestyle was part of the healing, supporting people to heal themselves, that all healing is self-healing, a journey home to yourself. And as I said, illness is an opportunity. And so these are very simple strategies, but they're powerfully therapeutic and powerfully healing, and they support people to manage their stress and anxiety now, so they're not in our offices later with headaches and stomach aches and backaches, and sometimes, unfortunately, worse due to the stresses and traumas, as I shared in the other slide, that they may have. So that's the challenge that we go through at times. And
Well,
now, yes.
your slides are not showing right now.
Oh,
Um,
let's
but
see why that is.
so if you want to try and do that, but it's a lovely presentation even without them. I don't
When did
think
they
I
when
didn't
did
even
they when did
notice.
they stop?
I didn't notice that.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought you were
I
just.
shared my screen.
Yeah.
Um, do you want to put on your screen?
Sure, I can do that.
Let's do that, and let me just run it by really quick. I'm sorry. It's
No,
working
what
on my
page are you
end.
on?
Well,
The 4 strategies.
yeah. I mean, when did I go off? Was I never on?
You were not. No.
Could we run to the beginning, and I'll go through it very quickly because I think it's important. I'll run through it quickly.
Do you want to
I,
try and share? Just take the time to just share then. We can wait a second and have that happen.
Share screen.
Yep.
I clicked it. Is it working?
Then you have to choose the file.
Well, it's on my screen already. When I go off Zoom, it automatically will show what's on my screen.
It's not sharing yet. Why don't I share?
Why don't you put it out there? Let's do it that way.
Yep.
And I will run through the beginning because I think the slides are important for flow, and it will be redundant, but let's call it reinforcing.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
And let's stay calm in the storm. And thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, no problem. I was so into your talk. I thought, wow, this is great.
I'm sorry that didn't work. I thought we had gotten it all set up beforehand, but we'll do our best to review it. We'll make it an opportunity. Okay.
Okay, can
And
you all see that?
thank you all out there for your patience. I'm not seeing your screen and my slides. Yeah, there it is. I need to make them bigger. Okay. So Are you on?
You're on. You should be able to see it now.
Okay, hold on one sec. All right, the first slide you have.
Yep.
I'm trying to.
Son paying his teacher.
Yeah, I see. I got it. Okay, so that's the perspective to take. We're going to learn from this opportunity, from our stresses and challenges. They become our teacher. Next slide, Tabby. And we just did a brief meditation on the breath as the simplest and most basic of mind body therapies and healing. Next slide. And I shared about the crisis and the challenges we face and the underlying anxieties and stresses and fears for our health and finances and isolation and not knowing how long it will last and not having our coping skills available to us. Next slide. And this is adding on to the stress we already had in our life that we didn't need more. And sometimes good stress, there's you stress, but this is not you stress. This is stress that piles on to the past and the previous. Next slide. And this is an important one. We ask, what can I do? What do I do? Meditatively, we can't stop the waves. It's coming, but we have to learn how to surf. And then we ask the next question, which is really important, which is how to be. You have a different slide than myself, which is okay. After what can I do is how can I be? And that's a really important question. And this is just acknowledging that the way we've learned about what to do and how to be with our pain or our stress is to get rid of it. And I'm saying that can add more stress. We have to learn how to be with it and how to relate to it in a new way. Next slide. And in this context, we're looking to find that place between tuning out and freaking out. We're all there right now. We want to tune it out because it's freaking us out. And we got to find that middle way to stay present, to stay in the now. Next slide. This is the window of tolerance that I spoke about, Dan Siegel, about staying in the ability not to be hyper or hypo aroused in the way we respond to things or react to things, to find that way of self-regulation, come back to the middle. Okay, next slide, Tabby. Thank you. Very important line. I share this with clients all the time, that when we're looking of what to do, when you change how you look at things and you change how you be with things, they change. And the good news is you are in charge of how you choose to look at things and how to be with things. And I can teach you how to do that and be that. We can also seek of what to do and what to take and what to treat and how to fix and how to cure. But you really can start to recognize your own power of relationship with your experience and engage and feel empowered to face it and learn from it. Next slide. Says it all. It's serenity is not freedom from the storm, it's peace amidst the storm. Next slide. Okay, we caught up. These are the four strategies for working with stress and anxiety, and we all do some of them, all of them, and it's important to find what's going to work for us to strategize dealing with our stresses, and more importantly, as well, how do we engage our clients with healthy lifestyles, with journaling and self-reflection, with awareness and yoga and meditation, and also with expressive movement and creative strategies, all of which are powerful healing. I don't like per se managing stress. I like to heal stress, transform stress, reduce stress. I don't like to manage it. It's still there. But yes, I understand the context of managing our stress, but let's learn from it and transform it. Next slide. So this is coming through 9 ways to build your capacity to manage anxiety and uncertainty. They kind of go together. I emphasize the uncertainty because that's really what would, how long will this viral last? Who's going to win the election? What's it going to be like, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to run through these just in the sense of time, but they're very simple and very practical. Like I said, there's nothing earth shattering or brand new or very practical common sense. Ground yourself with routines. Set times to do daily activities when your normal life is upset, and you can't have your normal life create a routine that works for you with when you go to sleep, with when you do this and that. And when you take your walk outside, I got to, it was really early on when we were locked in. It was nice that I could take a walk every day in the neighborhood with a friend or relative. It was nice time of day to have that, create that daily activity. Next slide. And a no-brainer, take care of yourself when you're under stress. Uh, get sleep. Uh, I mean, it's the most simple, basic of things. Patients will come in and they'll have this symptom and that symptom, and they want to fix this and that, and they've been diagnosed with that. And I'll go, "Are you sleeping? How's your sleep? Are you taking a walk? Are you breathing? Do you eat healthy?" And as Tabby knows, as naturopaths, when we do that, they need less herbs and vitamins. They also need less drugs, and sometimes that's the medicine they needed to heal themselves. So next slide. So take care of yourself. And this we're going to practice. So we're going to slow down a little here. And number three, okay, after get a routine going for yourself, especially when times are uncertain and there's anxiety and things are kind of up in the air. Take care of yourself, healthy lifestyle, support, connection. And this is important, self compassion. And Kristen Neff, I'm sure many of you have heard of her. And I took these 9 ways to build capacity for manage uncertainty from Melissa Eisler, a book that she had written. And um, to have tolerance for stress and change, it's difficult. So I don't have to tell you, these are tough times. And they're especially tough if you're a caregiver, if you're a practitioner, if our job is to help other people and support other people and guide other people and treat other people whose stresses are making everything in their life and their mind and body worse. Well, obviously we need to take care of ourselves too as wounded healers. And it's difficult. These are stressful times, and we're zoning out and we're freaking out and we're not taking care of ourselves as well as we could. And people have symptoms. I don't want to quote you the American Psychological Association and other studies about the number of people with anxieties and fears and traumas, and that's just the people who are making it, not necessarily the people who've lost loved ones. 225,000 people have died who've tested positive and living with the fear. 8 million, 9 million people um, who've lost their jobs and their livelihood. Um, so we're all feeling this together. So let's do compassion practice. The next slide. When things are tough, and this is medicine too. When I say that, I'm saying that it's transformative on a mind-body level. It's I teach in the program and elsewhere how biography becomes biology. There's a direct pathway of these stresses to illness, and there's a direct pathway of compassion and mindfulness and self-healing and self-awareness and self-regulation and love and connection to healing, the reversal of that process. In the same way that there are pathways for the mitochondria and resilience on a cellular level, this is resilience on the personal level, the cell and the self. So let's do this one. I'm calming down now. Ah, put both hands on your heart if you feel comfortable, and just take a pause. And close your eyes, look within, feel the warmth of your hands. Or you can put your hands any place on your body that feels soothing, comforting, maybe your belly, your face, in your lap, wherever feels right for you. And just breathe deeply in and out. Once again, just a deep breath. And I'll add to it. I'd like it just to acknowledge what's been challenging for me, for you during these times. What's been most difficult? The patients that you've been working with and their stresses and challenges, a family member that's struggling, someone you know that got the virus, someone you know who lost their home to the fire or still struggling with that. But just breathe in and out. And this is a simple practice of self compassion for the suffering that you're going through. There's compassion for others too as a practice, but this is self-compassion that you're having a hard time. And this is simple phrases that she's come up with herself and Christopher Germer in the book on self-compassion. It's very simple. This is a moment of suffering. I'm having a hard time. These are difficult times. And suffering is part of life. That's that's a tough one. You know, it's it's not wrong. Yes, it shouldn't be happening, but it is happening, and it's part of life. And I remind myself all the time: there's no cure for the human condition. There's a healing journey and a spiritual path and a choice to engage in it, and a choice to look at life and learn from it and grow from it. But suffering is part of life. And again, that also obviously comes from a Buddhist context of Four Noble Truths. And the first one is that the truth of suffering. And so the next is to simply say to yourself, may I be kind to myself in this moment? May I give myself the compassion I need? It's just to be gentle with yourself. Because sometimes when we're having a hard time, we struggle, we judge, we blame ourselves, we're caught up in it. And so this is finding that window of tolerance to just be present with the truth. This is hard. And as we do this, I guarantee if your clients, you're working with them, they're in pain, whatever, spend the moment to just take a breath and just acknowledge, this is hard. And of course, I want to cure you and heal you and fix you and help you be free of your pain and your illness and your stress. But part of it is just to acknowledge it with a compassionate heart. And for me, the beauty of this is uh, from a naturopathic vis medicatrix naturae, it's my whole career. How do you engage people in the journey home to themselves? They're the healer. How do we help them participate? So that's Kristen Neff. That's self-compassion, and very important when we're going through tough times. Next slide, Tabby. Thank you. Number 4, meditate every day if you can. And for some people, that's walk your dog. For some people, that's knit every day. For some people, that's listen to music. So meditation, I mean to be silent and still and be in the moment and pay attention. If you can, if mindfulness works for you, then a consistent meditation practice can help you decondition your reactions and habitual activities and to deal with the uncertainty and stay calm in the storm. That's what mindfulness is. We're going to do that practice momentarily as well. But it's very important to understand that when we are in a period of heightened anxiety or stress or triggered by the traumas of the day or the past, sometimes mindfulness may not be the most effective strategy. So, with any therapy, you have to do no harm and know when it works and when it doesn't. And there's a whole movement now called trauma sensitive mindfulness. So we again, and that's bringing that window of tolerance in where, if we're going through a hard time, put your toe in the water. We don't want to jump right in because sometimes we can drown in the anxiety and fear that we're going through and the pain and struggle and uncertainty. It can overwhelm us. So we have to be very gentle and go slow. So next slide, Tabby. So mindfulness is medicine. Being with truth, with compassion is medicine. Being here now is medicine. So close the eyes and take a breath. And just for a moment, you've had the breath awareness of just a deep breath and be here now. Had a moment of self compassion of just be kind to myself. This parts of me are going through a tough time. These are challenging times for myself, for my family, for my loved ones, for my clients, for the world. And I'm going to face them. I'm going to open to them. I'm going to bring awareness to them. I'm going to be mindful of them. And tune into the breath. And the most basic of mindfulness practice is just mindfulness of the breath. So the simplest is to just observe the breath at the nostrils where the air enters and leaves, or at the chest, the abdomen, chest rising and falling on the inhale and exhale. And pick one of those spots to just observe the breath. Your mind's going to wander. There's going to be thoughts and emotions may come and moods, and you'll feel sensations in your body. But in mindfulness of breath, you let the mind wander, but you bring it back to the breath as the point of focus and attention for your mind to just explore what's it like to breathe, to be here now with the breath. So just a break from the webinar, a break from my speaking and teaching. Can we just stop and pay attention to the breath? I'm not trying to make anything happen. I'm not pushing away anything that arises and not getting caught in it. We just return to the breath. Many of you are familiar, but for beginners, the, 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 the context of, we're training a puppy dog. Mindfulness is training of the mind. Compassion is training the heart. So the puppy dog wanders. You bring it back lovingly, gently. Come on back. It's going to wander again. Come back initially to the breath. And just be here now. I'll ring a bell just to have a couple moments just of observing the breath mindfully. And just to sit in silence. Let the mind go where it goes, but notice where it's not on the breath and just bring it back. And you can, before this moment or two of silence, just scan the body. Just breathe in and out, and whatever tension may be there, your legs or your buttocks or your shoulders or your neck or your jaw. Just how simply bringing awareness lets go of whatever tension is there, just with awareness. The mouth, the jaw, the lips. So spend a moment breathing in, breathing out, observing the breath. Let the mind wander. Bring it back. So that's a moment of mindfulness of breath. Next slide. So it's simple. Pay attention and listen within and see clearly the truth of the moment, the truth of your mind, your body, your heart, your feelings, your sensations, your thoughts, and just in a non attached way. We're not detached and we're not attached. We're not caught in the overwhelm, and we're not zoning out and detaching. We're present, non attached. Next slide. Very important. This comes from John Kabat-Zinn's book, Full Catastrophe Living, Facing Our Issues, Our Stresses, and Our Pains. And this too is really important when we talk about change how we look at it and change how we be with it. These are the qualities that we cultivated in that few minutes of mindfulness and compassion: non judgment, patience, beginner's mind, trust, non striving, acceptance, letting go. In the program I'm teaching for AIHM, the first module is becoming a mindful practitioner. Imagine that you can be present with yourself and your clients with these intentions, creating that environment, that healing, that presence, that being in the now. Whatever you do, whatever the therapy, whatever specialty you may have, uh, that presence is an essence of the healing relationship that has a profound interpersonal connection, um, interpersonal neurobiology that also Dan Siegel speaks about, that who you are with these intentions is as important as what you know. And how you be with yourself and your clients with these intentions is as important as what you do. And this is where mindfulness is so powerful, especially when we're going through these times of anxiety and uncertainty, because it's about who we are, it's about how we be. It's not so much about knowing and doing. And it's really important. So, to me, this is medicine as well. And people are scared and they're helpless and they're worried and they're stressed and they need trust and they need to let be and they need patience. Not so easy. We see our society is not so patient as we're counting the votes and people waiting with bated breaths. Like, don't show us anything. Don't tell us how many's here and who's getting here and who's getting there. Just don't tell us nothing until all the votes are in, then tell us who won. Can you imagine if we did it that way? Next slide. So we did the mindfulness practice. Next slide. And we're back to number 5 of the 9 ways that we build the to manage and be with anxiety and uncertainty. And it's a belief that you can overcome this. Okay. How you've been through other stresses and challenges, what you did that worked and what didn't, and how you can learn from those experiences and apply it to now. So it's finding the resources within that I can get through this. And it's really, and who inspires you? So I think of Nelson Mandela in jail for 27 years. I can hang out in traffic a little bit without freaking out. It's that kind of energy. Or Stephen Hawking's, right? Uh, how do you not get inspired by someone who can only move his tongue but is writing about the origins of the universe? Um, or Norman Cousins got me into mind body medicine, the anatomy of an illness. He's in the hospital. He's got ankylosing spondylitis, autoimmune disease, chronic pain in his spine. Don't know what's going on. He says, "Well, let me find a healing environment. Let me go to the beach, go to the ocean. Let me watch comedies." He started laughing. He healed. He found his way because he believed he could overcome it. So that's really important. And that's where we need support. And it's an important element of being with. How can I be with what's happening? Next slide. So again, the attitude is critically important. We know in stress management, it's not just what's happening, it's how we choose to relate to it. Next slide. And this is from Viktor Frankl. Many of you may be familiar, but to me, it's really, really an important slide in mind body healing and empowering patients to trust and create an environment for healing. He was a Holocaust survivor, wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, the last of human freedoms, the ability to choose one's attitude in a given set of circumstances. The start of that is anything can be taken from a person, but one thing, how you choose to be with that. And for many people, that's the whole ball of wax. The glass is half full or the glass is half empty. The glass does not change. How you see it affects your entire experience. And this is no less true than we know the power of placebo. We know the power of belief and the book on the biology of belief. So engaging in choosing how to be with is really critical um, with whatever else we may be doing. Next slide. And this is an important context of all of this is to be resilient. How do we adapt? How do we go through this? And as I said from the beginning, our pain is a teacher, our illness is an opportunity, a way to get us stronger, learning to adapt and go through life and crises. Resilience is the ability to adapt and respond to stress. Our awareness leads to the choice that Viktor Frankl speaks about, and we can respond rather than react. And having a choice is empowering. I know, unfortunately, many of you from California, if you're from there, horrible. Losing people lost lives, they lost their homes, livelihoods. And you can see in the attitude, in the response of different people, how they dealt with the trauma. It's not a judgment, it's difficult, but one person is grateful. Thank God we're okay. Okay, I lost the home and my valuables, and I'm sad and I'm grieving, but oh, I'm grateful nobody got hurt and we're fine. And it's empowering. We'll rebuild it. We'll get through it. And someone else doesn't have that ability to be resilient and they suffer more and they stay caught in their grief. I'm not, again, not judging that. They may not have learned how to be with that challenge, to know they have a choice. Next slide, Tabby. And how you cultivate resilience. You recognize your strengths and your support. You find new support and you use mindfulness and acceptance and compassion to increase your coping. So when I'm working with patients or with myself or with students, whatever I'm teaching, it's look within, find your strengths. You didn't get here, you know. I'm teaching seniors, people well older than me in their 80s. Boy, could they teach me some things about what they've been through, but they find their edges of anxiety and fear, and I have to remind them how much they've been through in life and the strength and resilience they already have to get to 85 and 95 years old in life where they are. So next slide. So this is from Tara Brock. I recommend you go to her website. She's a meditation teacher and therapist and has become very popular these days in her writings and teachings and books on radical acceptance and taking refuge. And she has popularized this pain to rain, how to be with, recognize what's happening, accept what's happening, bring a little mindfulness and inquire about it, where and how it shows up, and find that window of tolerance to be with it and bring a little of your natural awareness to it. This is all a simple mnemonic answering that question. How can I be with this pain, this stress, this uncertainty, this anxiety in a way that I can stay in my window, not push it away, not freak out from it? Oh, here it is. It's happening. I recognize it. I accept it. And this is where mindfulness come in. This is the essence of all that mindfulness is. You bring awareness to the moment, to the pain, to the stress, to the emotion, and you just acknowledge its presence. You accept it. You allow it. You're even affectionate, welcoming to it, like in Rumi's poem, as a guide from beyond. You look more deeply and see what's there, and we're establishing a relationship with it where we're not caught in it. And then we can bring loving energy, compassion energy, and awareness to choose a wise way to face it and be with it. Next slide. No, you're not alone. Obvious one, um, about compassion practice as well. Everybody is struggling, and that's good to know and bad to know. But that's just the nature of the beast. It's part of being human. And the whole world is going through this crisis together and struggling, and we're not alone. And it provides a little solace as we all face the uncertainties together. Um, and no one's immune to it. There's nothing wrong with you because you're anxious or scared, but you can be with it and you can have support and you're not alone. Next slide. Loving kindness for ourselves and others. That's another practice of training the heart to respond with loving kindness. And again, it's mind body medicine and how to be with it and to be kind and loving. Our challenge now, that we have to work on as a society, can the two sides find a way to be loving and kind to each other, even though we have different views of the world? And even though one side won and the other side lost, how do we find a way to be loving and kind with each other so we can connect and communicate? Next slide. And again, it's to focus on what you control with awareness. And that's again the choice of I can take better care of myself, I can take a walk, I can seek support, I can learn to meditate, etc. Next slide. The serenity prayer can be helpful for many people. Accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the thing I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's again, not just what do I do, but the question of how can I be is always within your power. I see so many patients who tell me the doctors told me nothing could be done. And I say, well, that may be true on one level, but have you ever explored how to be with it, how to relate to it, how to open to it, how to listen to it, how to explore it? And maybe as you look at it and see it in a little different way, or and you can change that. You can change how to be with it. You can be hopeful. You can be mindful. You can be compassionate. So there's always a lot of options to integrate in dealing with these stresses, and this is another one of them. Next slide. We're coming towards the end, so we're going over a little for the hour, not that much longer, and then we're going to do a little guided meditation at the end. This is from Pema Chodron, When Things Fall Apart, a wonderful book talking about dealing with stress and finding peace in the storm. She's a Buddhist meditation teacher. Um, and she writes this. I find it quite profound and interesting from a Buddhist teaching perspective. Looking deeper, we could say that the real cause of suffering is not being able to tolerate uncertainty and thinking that it's perfectly sane, perfectly normal to deny the fundamental groundlessness of being human. In other words, change and uncertainty is part of life. And yes, these are uncertain times, but can we be with them? They're part of life. Thinking that things shouldn't change and it shouldn't be this way is actually denying uh, a basic reality of the way things are. And one of the things that I share and I remind myself when I struggle with my own issues, mind and body and life, and I explore how to be with them and support and healing or whatever, I remind myself, if I didn't have these issues, I'd have other issues. So I might as well learn from these and be with these. And I tell that to clients as well. And it's true. Everybody's got issues. We're all struggling, each in our own way. So can we be present with that? Next slide. And she says, sticking with that uncertainty, getting the knack of relaxing in the midst of chaos, finding peace in the storm, learning not to panic, learning to live in our window of tolerance, learning to be present with compassion and awareness. This is the spiritual path, Pema Chodron. Sticking with uncertainty, relax in the midst of the chaos, find peace in the storm. Next slide. So again, change as an opportunity. You know, We've gone through lots of changes. We're Zooming, and Zooming in a lot of ways is bringing people closer together, connecting to people all over the world in ways that we didn't before. So there were a lot of different aspects to what we're going through in the changes as we adapt and adjust and accommodate that may also help us. What benefits might come to us as individuals and communities from these changes that we're going through. Okay. Slow down, reflect. Even in the physical distancing, we can find ways to go deeper with our family and our loved ones and our friends. In fact, people are staying in touch perhaps even more. Um, I've had a number of family Zooms with relatives from different places and people I know from all over the world. It's quite been quite lovely to connect with them on Zoom and have Zoom meetings. Next slide, as well as, of course, the weekly AIHM wellness webinar that they're hosting. So this is an interesting quote from Eckhart Tolle, and I love the um, photo associated that we found to us put with this quote. Eckhart Tolle, as you know, the power of now, a spiritual teacher. If uncertainty is unacceptable to you, it turns into fear. If it is perfectly acceptable, it turns into increased aliveness, alertness, and creativity. I just find that so empowering because not just the now, but speaking of illness and pain and stress, we're scared and we got a diagnosis and we're worried and we want to fix it and we're uncertain about the diagnosis and the prognosis and what's going to be. And if we can learn to be with it and find our way to stay present with it and be alive and alert and creative with it, that's the medicine. That's that's actually the healing. There was a, if I might, um, the I listened to a commercial. I live in the East Coast in Connecticut, and if you've heard of Sloan Kettering, an excellent cancer hospital, what they were doing their commercial, and just an interesting side note, and they were advertising, their strength and their skills and their expertise in cancer, and they said, "Come to Sloan Kettering. We'll get you back to your old self." And I was driving, and I had to pull over to the side of the road because I really wanted to uh, say, I don't agree with that. No, cancer is an opportunity to heal and become your new self or your true self, or to be increasingly alive and alert and creative and not afraid to push away what's happening and to come into your old self. In fact, it may be a message to explore that new self. So, anyway, that's just an aside that I'm sharing with you in a way that illness can be enlivening, creating alertness and creativity to be your authentic self. And that's another biology context. Next slide. So anticipate change. And this is Rumi. Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. Do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come? There are many people that we support going through not just these challenges, but illnesses, divorces, deaths, pain, struggles. And if we can see them as a teacher, if we can see them as an opportunity, we can come out the other side and really seeing with new eyes. We've learned, we've grown, we're stronger, we're more resilient. We faced life for the next challenge to come. Next slide. And anticipate change and have a plan. Stay with your routine, your healthy habits, etc. Next slide. And obviously, I put all of these in the words, assuming that people who are interested can always review the slides and the quotes and the teachings there. This is a wonderful quote. It is not how we live in the light that enlightens us, it's how we live in the dark. So these are challenging, dark times for many of us, what we're going through. And can we live in it with awareness, with love, with opportunity, with a choice to open to it, with compassion? Carl Jung says one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Another way to say what Rene Lazuli has just said. Next slide. So, just going to be brief in the interest of time, and one or two more slides after this, but let me just guide you briefly. Even the context of working with difficulty, we're asking the question, how can I be with it? So let me guide you briefly in this meditation. Take a breath and go inside and come into the now. And in all of the discussion of the stresses and anxiety and uncertainties, maybe just allow yourself to bring your awareness to one aspect of your mind, your body, your life, your health. That's been a challenge. You don't have to pick your biggest issue, but something that you notice has been a difficulty, has been a challenge, has been stressful. And tune in and notice and just acknowledging that issue and noticing where it shows up in you. Does it live in your body in some way? The body bears the burden, the body keeps the score, the body remembers that you're holding it somewhere in the body. Just to note that. How does it live in the mind? Are there thoughts about it, attitudes, beliefs? What do you say about it? What do you think about it? We're giving ourselves a little space to explore it with mindfulness, to work with it with mindfulness and compassion, to see it clearly. How does it show up in your heart? Is there a feeling, an emotion connected to this difficulty? Sadness, frustration, angst, whatever it may be there, just gently, within your window of tolerance, just allow yourself to acknowledge how this issue lives in you. And we're asking not what to do about it, not how to get rid of it, not how to fix it, but how to be with it, how to open to it, how to see it with new eyes. And just note, how have I been with this difficulty? Have I judged it and rejected it and avoided it? Or can I open to it? Can I listen to it? Maybe it has a message for me. Maybe it has an opportunity or something to teach me, some way that I can learn and grow from this struggle or this challenge or this difficulty. We're just exploring. How are we with it? Does it have a message? What might it need or want for me to embrace it, welcome it as a guide from beyond? Can I open to it? Can I remember it and embrace it as the whole without zoning out, without freaking out, just letting it be there, coming to an open awareness relationship with this difficulty? Can I bring compassion for myself for this challenge that this difficulty brings me? To hold it in, in kindness and compassion for myself. And again, this is a practice of exploring how to be with not only what to do and our reactions to it, but what's a healthy, wise response. And then you can have a healing image. Imagine you working with this difficulty in a way that you can be with it, a way that you can hold it with compassion. Maybe even in a way that it might heal or change, or you'll learn something from it and grow from it and be more resilient because of it. Sense that empowerment and liberation that comes from ability and the willingness to and choice to face it and see what it needs and explore how to be with it. And open the eyes. And next slide, Tabby.
Let me pull up the screen again.
Okay. And thank you for your assistance today and for inviting me. And thank all of you who might still be on because we went over a little. And see that beautiful, alive, enlightened, hopeful person reaching up to the sky at the Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine. Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. And that light is in each of us. And that candle lights our own darkness and lights the darkness of those around us. And that's what AIHM is, a light in the darkness. And I'm glad to be part of that. Next slide. So the closing thoughts from a Buddhist and meditation context: may you be happy and healthy and at peace. May you be filled with loving kindness, and may you be free from suffering. And then last slide. That's me. That's my website and my email, etc. So thank you again for your presence, your attendance, and your listening. I hope you found this of support to you and perhaps your clients as well. And I don't think I'm telling you anything that you didn't already know, but I may just be reminding you to remember it and engage in it as medicine, as therapy, especially during these times. So we will take questions if there are any. I can't hear you.
Sorry, lots of
Okay.
comments about how people who have actually been in the fellowship have enjoyed your modules and remembrances of that in the chat. And
Oh,
lots of thanks.
thank you all. I was telling Tabby how much I really appreciate everyone and reading every one of your posts. And thank you for letting me respond and be part of your journeys. And it's been wonderful from my standpoint. So thank you. Thank you all for that.
So since we went over, I am going to just kind of close up. I'm going to share my screen again for 1 minute.
Okay.
And can you all see my screen share?
Thank you.
That's yes. So first, again, just thanking you, Paul. I just feel like this was what we all needed at the end of this week, and just to be here together and to really kind of recenter all of us. It's just been a wonderful way to spend this afternoon. And I just want to remind everyone, we are continuing to do our free expert webinars, and we have lots of resources. So please sign up for emails on our website for upcoming events. Join an AIHM chapter meeting. Each week we do this, and usually on Mondays we start our week with a 15-minute meditation. Next week we have a very special guest, Master Ming Tong Gu, who will actually be having a session at 4 p.m. Pacific, at a 1-hour talk and meditation that he will lead us through. And he is a master Qigong person, and we're just really, really blessed to have him coming. And then next Friday, we always do our wellness webinars, so please come next week for that. All of our events are recorded. You can watch on our Facebook Live or go to our YouTube channel and watch anytime. And I really encourage you all to think about becoming an AIHM member, get more education through our fellowship program, and stay connected with our community. So we are trying to reach 1,000 likes on our YouTube channel. So please join our YouTube channel. It's free. You can go to youtube.com/AIHM Global, and let's stay connected. So again, Paul, thank you so much. Really, I needed this week for sure. I think many of us did. So blessings to you and to the whole integrative community, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Tabby.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.